ascribe to be an expert on the Dutch pour. However, I have been blessed to be privileged to have the experience of viewing many amazing YouTube artists who have done an awesome job with the Dutch pour. Rinske Douna, Kanella Ciraco, Gina DeLuca, Tammy Anderson, and many more amazing YouTube artists. And certainly they have a wealth of knowledge and information that they can share. I have just been privileged to glean from their information and found things that I believe have been effective for me and allowing for me to be successful. So I want to share those with you today. Again, I'm no expert, but I am going to be sharing with you information that I pulled together from various sources over the few years that I've been doing this, and I am excited about being able to share it. Let me just say that no one source had all of the information that I'm pulling together. Although it's all out there, I didn't get it all at one time either. And why am I doing this video? Well, let me just share with you that I have heard a number of people say, I struggle with the Dutch pour. I've heard a number of people say, I would love to know what your secret is. What type of hair dryer do you use? How do you mix your paints? On and on and on. Different communications have been given to let me know that people struggle with some of the same struggles I had. So what I'm attempting to do today is put information together as brief as I can that will allow you to gather information that maybe you already know, apply it and remember to apply it, or get new information that you didn't have and be able to use it as well in a way that will benefit you. I want to emphasize there are lots of ways of being able to do Dutch pours. This is the way I do it. This is the way I've been able to find myself to be successful, and I'm just happy to share it with you. So I hope that you will tune in and be able to see some information that you can apply to your own Dutch pour experience. I will be doing a Dutch pour at the end of the video, so you will be able to see that, but right now I want to go through 3 basic things that I think are helpful, or at least they've been helpful to me. I didn't know them all at one time. I've learned them over time. I pulled them together to help make for this video and to help you understand and maybe be better informed on why I've experienced some success with the Dutch pour. And so that's really what I'm doing. So let's get started. I'm going to share 3 major things that I believe are critical to ensuring that you have a very effective, successful experience with the Dutch pour. First and foremost, let's just really say this. It doesn't come overnight for anyone. It takes practice. It takes giving yourself the opportunity to make mistakes, to go through trial and error, and to really just learn from those experiences. So what I'm sharing will be coupled with the experiences of those who have gone forward and been able to become experts at this, as well as my own practice and experience, my failures and my successes that are bringing this video together. So the first thing I want to share with you is that of the surface. Whatever surface you use, and with a Dutch pour you can use different types of surfaces. For the most part though, because many of us use canvases, I'm going to really be emphasizing the use of this process with the canvas. However, you can use tile, you can use wood, you can use glass, you can use canvas, other types of surfaces, that even rock if you choose to. But you do need to know your surface. So that's the number one thing. And when I say know your surface as it relates to the canvas, I'm referring to what surface you're using to do your painting on. For example, this is a level 1 canvas, and there's nothing wrong with the level 1. This is the level 2. There's nothing wrong with the level 2. And this, of course, is a level 3. Now, the level 3, of course, has the wider, thicker sides, and it has the backing that has been tucked in. And you can see a lot more of the wood from the level 3. Level 2 has a similar backing, and it's not as sturdy in terms of its durability. It's wrapped the same, but you see more of the canvas tucked in, and there's wood on the back as well. In the level 1, you will see usually staples on the back with no wood being exposed. It doesn't matter what surface you choose to use as far as a level 1, 2, or 3 canvas, but what does matter is what you do to prepare for your paint. So preparation for the paint begins for me in the store. When I go to purchase a level 1, 2, or 3 canvas, one of the things I'm going to be looking for is to see how well that canvas has been constructed. If there are staples that are missing, or there's wood fiber that's showing from the wood grain, or if there's rips or tears in the canvas. But most importantly, I'm looking to see if I can tell whether or not that canvas is wood on that canvas is warped. And so I usually take the canvas, whatever size I'm using, I'm looking to purchase, and I examine it by standing it up on the floor, looking it over, examining it. Also, I go around all the edges and look to see that there are no damaged areas to it. And then I lay it on the floor of the store to see if it appears to be level. If I can see that the wood is warped, or if I can see that there's some bowing in the wood, I'm going to make certain that that's not something I want to purchase. I'm going to look for something that looks straight and is straight. I also had the experience of purchasing a level 3 canvas, nice canvas, brought it home, opened it up, did the base coat, began laying all the paint down, and I never noticed until it started to dry that a box cutter had cut the side of that level 3 canvas, and it was such a hairline cut that I didn't notice it until paint was on it. So that taught me a lesson to be very cautious and careful when I go into the store. Not just looking for the item that's on sale or the bargain buy, I'm looking to make certain that what I'm purchasing is also quality. So when I'm talking about surface, you examine the surface for a lot of things, for flaws, for imperfections. Also examine it with the thought in mind, how am I intending to use this canvas, and how am I intending to finish it up? Will I varnish it? Will I resin it? All those things factor into your surface. Additionally, you want to make certain that when you have already found your canvas and you're ready to prime and prep it with whatever you need to do, whether it's the base coat or if you're having to prime it prior to putting any paint on there, you need to have this, a leveler. Something that's going to tell you that yes, indeed, when I lay my flawless canvas on a surface, it's going to be a surface that is already level and that canvas is level. You will probably use something like cups or push pins to help with that process. So all of that leveling needs to take place after you have taped the back of the canvas. If you choose to tape, you need tape. You would need tape, and you also would need scissors for that. And then you could put pins down. And those pins can be adjusted to help you with leveling. So you want to do all of that prepping before you begin your Dutch pour. If you happen to notice that when you open up your canvas, the packaging, your canvas looks a bit wrinkled, it looks like the edges are a little bit sunken in, or maybe they're sticking up, here's a dandy trick. This trick is to spray it with a spray bottle. Take it and rub your hands on that area where the wrinkle is in the canvas and give it a chance to soak in, and that wrinkle will go away within minutes. You want to do that on the inside of that canvas, on the back side, and on the top side. Just a little water, not soaking it, but just enough to get that wrinkle out of the corner or out of the side, wherever you may have it in your canvas. So that's all part of getting ready to prime your canvas for the actual prepping and making certain that you have a flawless canvas. Of course, your push pins are important. You just can't put any push pin in. You want to make sure that those push pins are about even. I've had purchased a set of push pins, and some of the metal part may be much more shorter than the other pieces of metals that are on different push pins. So you want to make sure the push pins are also pretty level. So with that, you want to prep and prime your canvas. You want to measure and make sure your surface is level, both vertically and horizontally before you start. Additionally, you want to make certain that that canvas is as flawless as it can possibly be when you lay your paint down, your base paint, your paint that you're going to start with before you lay your layering colors down. And so the next step is to know your paint. Number one is to know your surface. Number two is to know your paint. And what do I mean by that? Well, you can have a paint that's a metallic paint, an opaque paint, a semi-opaque. You can have different brands of paint, but know this, they are not all alike. No paints are all alike, even if it's within the same brand. So your composition of your paint is really critical. What do I mean? Well, sometimes people will offer formulas. Say, for instance, they'll say, you use 60% Floetrol, 30% paint, 10% water. That's a formula. That formula may work for the majority of the paints that you may be using. It may work wonderful for you, but it does not have necessarily the ability of working for all paints. More paints that are heavy pigmented or heavy body paints, they don't require as much water, or they don't require as much paint. So what you have to do is know your paints. I have, for example, this is the Grumbacher Cadmium Phthalo Blue paint. This is a Liquitex Basics Cadmium Yellow Deep Hue. This is the Artist Loft Metallic Blue. And all of these are different brands of paint. I can mix them all together and make an amazing design in terms of a Dutch pour. But what really helps me to make that design really effective is to know that it's consistent. Each of these paints are consistent, regardless as to what brand they are. They need to be consistent. And what do I mean by consistent? Glad you asked. I'm going to take just a sample here using this tile. This is the 4x4 tile. And I'm going to put a few drops of each of these paints, one drop each of each color on the paint, on the tile. And then I want to be able to check to see, this is just a way of checking to see if you have paints that are consistent. I can show you this by putting them down here and letting you see. This is the Grumbacher Phthalo Blue. Just going to put like a little dot, and I'm going to try to do as much as I can, a dot that's as even as possible. This is the Cadmium Deep Yellow. When I say one size does not fit all, I mean one size does not fit all. That means that each and every time you're going to have to determine when you put your paints together, when you mix your paint, whether or not the composition you're using is going to be sufficient for that particular brand of paint. And I'm going to show you what I mean by consistency, and then we'll talk a little more about that paint. So here we have three colors, the three colors I'm referring to, and I've leveled, I put them on a tile as level as I can possibly do at this moment. One way of me checking to see if they're consistent is to be able to begin to tilt my tile downward and watch to see how these tiles begin to move. Now, if they move, one moves way faster than the other, then that tells me my paint is not, that particular color is not consistent with the others. But if they move relatively close together, about the same pace, about the same speed, I know that they are pretty much consistent. And if I have an adjustment to make, it's probably one with the paint that's running the fastest, okay? You can see these paints are pretty consistent. Do they have to be perfect? No, but are they close? Absolutely, and that's what you want to determine whether or not your paints are consistent. Okay, so how do I mix my paints? Well, I use all types of paints. I use all brands of paint, and I'm very careful to look at colors and what I believe will work in terms of color combinations, coordinations. I usually use opaque and semi-opaque, but I always try to include some metallic in each of my Dutch pours. That is something that I find to be very effective. No matter how many colors I'm using, I'm going to have some form of an opaque, a semi-opaque, or a metallic in that mix. I usually do this. I take my Floetrol and I'll do 2 parts of Floetrol to 1 part paint, and I stir it. I don't add any water or any other substance to the paint until I can see what that paint looks like with just Floetrol. 2 parts of Floetrol, 1 part paint. I stir it and I look to ensure that it's really mixed well. And then I start to add small portions of water at a time. And I stir until I reach what I believe is the desired consistency for me. It takes time and practice to do that, so it may not come to you overnight. But just know it's very possible to get the right consistency regardless as to what brand you use. Paint consistency also applies to the technique that you're using. In a Dutch pour, you want to make certain that you're using a thin level of paint, that it is runny, it's not thick. If it's too thick, you're going to have a difficult time blowing it out. So it needs to be fairly runny, but all of those paints need to be running together, meaning they're running in the same flow of consistency. With a Dutch pour, you also want to have a few things on hand. You might want to use a blow dryer to blow it out. You can use a spatula, but you also need to use some form of tool like a popsicle stick. Once you have laid the paint down, you have been able to take a torch and use that torch to blow out any of the air bubbles. You want to make certain that at the end you have a popsicle stick or a art tool, something that can go around the outer or under edge of the canvas to gather up any excess paint, because as long as that paint is shifting and moving, it's going to cause your design to shift and move as well. You may want to keep on hand some tweezers in case there's some debris that falls into the paint. Sometimes you get dried Floetrol from the lids. Sometimes you get dried paint, hairs, anything can be part of the debris. Also, I keep handy a scraper, because if there's something on that particular design that I don't like, I don't have a problem scraping it off and working to improve it. So the paint is really important. Having it mixed well, knowing what composition you're going to use, and being able to apply it evenly to the surface of your canvas. Now, the next thing, number 1 we had was the canvas, know your canvas. Number 2 was know your paint. And number 3, I'm going to be talking about number 3 right now. Know your tools. What do I mean by that? Well, I already mentioned a few tools. You definitely need to have a torch, and that is so that you can use it to pop any air bubbles. That helps to ensure that those air bubbles don't interfere or defect your actual design. So a torch is critical. If you're going to use paint where you're pouring it out, you might want to use a spatula. This helps you to have more control over how even the flow of the paint will lay out, so it's important to have a spatula. But blow dryers, and I want to really talk about that because people have asked me, what model do you use, what brand do you use, what the strength of your blow dryer is, all those wonderful things. And I've been told different things about the blow dryer, and you may have your opinion on it as well. But I will share with you what my experience has been. I purchased a number of blow dryers before I came to the realization that blow dryers really do matter. And why is that? Well, just like paintbrushes matter. You don't use the same paintbrush for every single type of stroke that you want to accomplish on a canvas if you're painting with a paintbrush. Or if you're using any other type of painting tool, you don't use necessarily the same tool each and every time. There are a variety of painting tools. There are a variety of hairbrushes. Let me tell you what I know about that. Personal experience. Here's a leaf blower, and it's a USB leaf blower, which is not very powerful. In fact, I'm not really sure how powerful it is, but This is not something you would use necessarily on a big canvas to blow dry. I actually happen to have purchased one of the leaf blower accessories, and that's this type of fan. That helps with things that are very small. I don't prefer to blow with my mouth or with a straw, which are fine, perfectly fine, but they're not my preferences. So I may use other tools like an airbrush. I may use a leaf blower just to get to those little fine areas. Why is that important? Well, because if you have a blow dryer and they're all in different sizes and different watts, and it's important to know your tools. This one in particular is about 1,000 watts. It's a mini blow dryer. Very lightweight. It's called InStyler. It's a mini Tourmaline hair dryer. Bought it off Amazon. I don't know that it's available anymore, but it was about 30 bucks, and it is very lightweight and it's very manageable. What do I mean by that? It's manageable for me in that I can manipulate this. I can turn it upside down. It's lightweight. It has the ability of giving me control over the blow dryer versus the blow dryer having control of me. It only has a high and low setting, and it does not have a cooling feature, which sometimes you may want in your blow dryer. One other thing you might want to know is how long your blow dryer is. How far can it extend? Because if you're being able to, having to do a big piece, you may want to be able to reach that. So it's important to know your blow dryer. Not just its brand, not just its wattage, but how well it blows. And here's really something real important. Some people call this a diffuser. Some people call it a concentrator. I'm not sure what it is, but it happens to be the attachment that comes with this blow dryer. It's open wide. I find that the ones that are open wide, in other words, they have a wider opening, tend to do better for me in the type of design I like to see. You can get them with much smaller openings, and if you like the outcome of that, that's fine. They vary. Hair dryers are like people. They're all different types. They have different wattages. They have different responsibilities in terms of purposes, what they do. And this one is a mini dryer, hair dryer, travel dryer that I like because it does what I need. And it is 1,000 watts. This one is a Conair, and it's a 1,200 watt dryer. Another very lightweight travel dryer with a high and low speed, no cooling feature. It has a nice size cord, but again, it has the nice wide opening for the nozzle. The nozzle does come off, and you can see what I mean by that wide opening. That works for me. Now, you may have a different preference, and there is no right and wrong on that. It's just personal preference. But this particular dryer, like I said, this hair dryer is a 1,200 watt. Then we have a different travel dryer. Another one that I really, really like, wide opening. I like the twistable handle on this one. This is a Kanella, and it's a 1,600 watt. And it has the high and low setting, along with a cool touch pump where you can pump it and get cool air. I like this. This has a lot more speed than the other. It's still very lightweight, very manageable. I can use it. I can move my hand and my arm and twist around and do a good job on making a Dutch pour with this or any other blowing feature that activity that I need to get the type of outcome I'm seeking. But again, it has a very long cord, and that helps me because I am really liking to be able to move around. Sometimes I have to get around the other side of a large canvas, and having a longer cord really matters. But 1,600 speed means you have to be a lot more careful than you do with 1,000 wattage or 1,200. And then what most blow dryers are, because people tend to buy them for the purposes of the wattage. This is at 1875. It's still lightweight, but not as lightweight as the others. It has that wide nozzle on it as well, and I like that feature. Again, very much able to get the design that I'm seeking because of that wide mouth nozzle. This one has a high, medium, and low, and a cooling feature. But it's $18.75. If you have a very small canvas like this, yeah, you could do it on that, but it's going to be a lot easier to do it with a smaller blow dryer on something this small and this powerful. This is, for me, would be too powerful for this particular type of canvas. Can it be done? Yes. Is it much more difficult? Yes, because this has a lot of power and I need to be in control of the power. And that's something that you might want to consider as you're looking for tools. Blow dryers do matter. One size does not fit all, in my opinion. You need to consider what you're going to be using it for, what the size canvas is that you'll be using it on, and how you want your design to come out. So here we have three very important things. We have know your canvas, we have know your paint, and we have know your tools. And yes, there are other tools that you can use to assist you with making forth, improving your Dutch pour, but what I didn't have that I'm giving you right now is I didn't have all this information at once. I had to piecemeal it together. I had to find by trial and error what I learned to learn and what worked. So I know this is a lot of information. I hope it's been clear. If you have any questions or any comments, I welcome them. Again, I want to emphasize to you, I feel that I found success with doing the Dutch pour. I don't feel that I'm an expert. I have learned and had the privilege of learning from experts, and I applaud them for the wonderful things they've taught me, along with what they're continuing to teach and share by way of YouTube world. So with that, I will say, I am amazed at the growth that I've taken in my own journey with this process of the Dutch pour. I welcome you and encourage you to keep practicing, because practice is what makes for permanent. Not perfect, but permanent. When you find that you're not doing it right or getting it to your satisfaction, there's always a scraper you can use. There's always a do-over. There's always improving upon. I do it all the time. I take great pride in making certain that I get the best outcome that I'm seeking. And I don't always get it the first round, so that's why, because we're imperfected, our art can also be imperfected. But I found that these tools have helped me to make for perfecting my art with regard to the Dutch pour. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been meaningful to you. Please leave a comment and let me know what you think. If you have any questions, if you have any kind of feedback you'd like to offer, I welcome it, and I appreciate so much you joining me today. So stay tuned and we'll go on to the next thing, our Dutch pour. Thank you for joining me. Hello everyone. Happy to have you back. This is Anita White with Love Your Art. And right away, of course, we like to get started right away. So let's jump on in. What are we doing today? Well, we are doing a Dutch pour on a 12 by 24 inch canvas. We are going to be doing a split, which means our colors will be, our base colors will be two different colors. I have made the part of the base color, this navy color that you're going to see on the canvas. This is a combination of two colors. It's the Artist Loft Black mixed with the Artist Loft Flow Acrylic Blue and Floetrol and Water. So those two colors are giving us our navy. The other color that we'll be splitting with, of course, is our white. And so let's go ahead and lay those down and get going really quickly here with our base paint. We're going to take and use it to give us a design just across the base part of this canvas here. We'll dry that. And that will be the bottom of the split color. And then we are going to use this white for the top area. And again, we'll take and blow dry this off. Give us a little more. This is the Artist Loft Floor Acrylic White, just like the black and the blue. Just want to make sure all of our sides are covered. We have paint on every part of the canvas before we begin. We always want to make sure we check our sides as well as our corners. To ensure we have a flawless design as much as possible before we put any of our layering colors down. Okay, I like the base colors that we see so far. We made a navy out of the black and the blue, and we have the white on top. So we're going to go ahead and take the, take my gloves off and torch the air bubbles. We want to look for any debris that may interfere with our flawless design and make certain that things like this, which find their way into our paint, sometimes it's dry paint, other times it may be Floetrol or just debris that can find its way, like a hair or something that is unwanted. We don't want any uninvited guests to our party, so we want to make certain that everything is nice and smooth and evenly distributed as much as possible as we prepare to lay our colors down. All right, I think we're pretty good now. Wait one more second. Like there could be something here. Yep. Once again, finding these little uninvited guests, we have to take care of them before we start. All right, I think it's good now. Give that one more scorch. And let's introduce our colors to the canvas. All right, what do we have today? Well, I'll tell you. We're using some golds and some coppers. And I'm going to throw in a little bit of yellow and maybe some white. So, and very possibly I may use this blue. And the way I determine that is I try to use colors that are contrasting colors, some that I call hot and cold, and some that will really just make other things pop once it comes all together. And I can get a better feel for it once I see them on the canvas. So what I'm going to start with is this Artist Loft Copper. And we're going to take it right along our split line here. And I have Artist Loft Old Gold. Put it right on top of the copper. Next we have Liquitex Cadmium Deep Yellow Hue. And this is so that we can kind of break up these coppers and golds in between. We'll see how it works. It's looking really pretty right now. Now we're coming back with Liquitex Basics Gold. And Pebeo Studio Copper Iridescent. And I'm going to add a little bit of Artist Loft Flow Acrylic White, which is the base. And then I'm going to look at whether or not we want to add this blue. This is the Artist Loft Flow Acrylic Blue mixed with Floetrol and water. And it is probably, we'll say yes. Just put a little bit of this around here. Okay. It is part of the base that, the base color blue, but it's just mixed with Floetrol and water in order to get that color. A lot of rich color here. I like to wrap back around, and I think the color I'm choosing to wrap back around with this go round will be the Artist Loft Old Gold. All right, plenty of paint, nice, beautiful colors. Torch. And time to get busy. Let's see what we can work it out. My thought is to get as much as I can in both areas, meaning the white and the navy blue, with regard to some negative space in there as well. So let's see. I'm going to start on my right. Wow, surprise, surprise, surprise. This is amazing. Amazing. Cells like you wouldn't believe, lacing like you wouldn't believe, and the colors are just very, very vibrant. They are merging together to really make for a nice, nice design. A few air bubbles, so we're going to torch a little bit here just to pop those air bubbles out. Wow. Love, love, love this. I was thinking that I would see more of the copper and the gold together, but what I'm seeing, having put the yellow and the blue in there, is just a real conversion of those colors together. It really came down to pulling them in and really bringing out the blue and the yellow, kind of giving us some green in there as well. I'm loving it. I think it just did a really nice job of bringing out the color here. We've got negative space. We've got color in both black and white, and it's just, I'm thinking it really looks nice, very nice. I'm going to wipe off some of the excess paint, and that helps us to bring our canvas to rest as quick as possible. The paint's going to move, but we have a little bit of choice in how that happens, depending on how quickly we get to bringing it to rest. And that's why we take the popsicle stick along the side, making sure that we wipe up excess paint that is flowing over, because it will definitely move if you don't. And if you leave this unattended without wiping, your design will shift from its original format, and you could be pleased with that, and that's okay, but most people prefer to capture it and keep it in its state that they like, the initial state that they like. I like this. I'm really, really happy. I'm surprised at the amount of color that has really come together and made this design work. Let's bring you in for a close-up so you can see what we have captured here by way of this particular painting. Okay, hold tight, bring you right on in. All right, y'all, we are here for a close-up now. You can see the navy as well as the yellow and the copper and the golds and the little bit of blue we put in, all of it converging on this canvas. It is spectacular. Look at the shine and shimmer in there along with that lacing. Amazing. Also, as you look, you can see we have cells here all on top. Lacing here throughout. Here's some of that rich rainbow-like colors up here. The copper and the blue and the green type of color it's created. Just unbelievable. And we'll move right on over and you can see more cells, more of the merging of the colors there. That rich copper, iridescent, and all of these colors have created a nice flow of color pulled together to make for this amazing piece of art. Wow, love, love, love those cells. Look at that. That's like that blue and navy coming together with the white to form those cells along with the copper. Just a cluster of beautiful cells. We also want to say these cells are pretty spread throughout, where you see the iridescent and the copper coming together. There's more of them there. You can see them a little bit better here, a little bit better. So I think they really have added to this design, giving it an extra touch of beauty. Please, please, please. Love it, love it, love it. I hope you do too. Here's a full view of it. Again, this is a 12 by 24 inch canvas. It's available if you're interested. Email me at AnitaWhiteLoveYourArt@gmail.com. And if you haven't done so, go ahead and subscribe, because we're going to be giving you more information each time we upload a new video. I want to begin to share different techniques and also share different tips with you as we go forward. So look forward to coming together with us and being a part of this wonderful art journey. And we'll see you again on the next video upload. But until then, keep loving your art. Have a great day. Have a great time staying safe and be healthy. Have a good day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.